welcome. It's me, Niyi Sobo, former NFL running back, former firefighter, now mindset coach, showing competitors all over the globe how to systematically dominate their sport, and with the emphasis on the mindset. Everybody's focused on the tangibles. Everybody's focused on the training, the nutrition. All of these things are important, but even more important is the mentality that you approach these things with. And not only that, the mentality that you have leads to whether or not you even maximize these different elements of your sport, from the training, nutrition, etc. All right. So that's what I do. That's why I'm here. And you're here because you want to build a tougher mindset, a tougher mentality. And this is something that a lot of people talk about. And I personally get frustrated when I hear a lot of these little tag words thrown about without them being defined. You know, as well as I do. You know, I remember football growing up, 7th grade, you know, and coaches like, oh, you got to play hard. You gotta be confident. It's like, what does that mean? I don't even know what confidence means. How do I build confidence? What does someone do to go about doing that? People aren't teaching that in a very practical way. So I'm not going to throw out a bunch of words at you. I will define them. But either way you slice it, you need a tougher mindset. Life is and can be rough. All right. So I'm not saying life is inherently hard or tough. Everyone has a different perspective. Everyone has a different life experience. But if it's not rough for you, there are going to be and are inevitably tough times. All right. So whether it's in your sport or your business, your goals are high, your intentions are clear. But then, of course, you reach resistance. Emotions come up. Obstacles come up. And different people do different things when obstacles come up, right? So some people, they'll fold or quit. This is obvious. These people lack a certain mental toughness. We all know the types. Maybe you've been that type at some point or another. Maybe you're in a time right now where you're considering quitting. You're actually stopping. You're not pursuing your dreams. When I was at Portland State, my last year in college, you know, I had some teams looking at me. I wasn't really projected to get drafted high or anything. Possibly, you know, 6th, 7th round if I'm lucky. And I had an injury. I was coming off an injury as well. Couldn't really do a lot of things at the pro day. Could only sprint. Had a wrist injury. And there are people literally on my team from Portland State who had more potential than me, who were even projected higher than me, that simply didn't try because they were afraid of failing, because they lacked a certain mental toughness. All right. So some people, when they meet this resistance, they fold or quit. Some people, when they get knocked down, when life throws them a couple jabs, few uppercuts, you know, they might come back, but then they're approaching what they're doing more softer, right? You've seen the types after the injuries. They come back and they're a little more tentative. Some players after injury have never been the same again. That is a certain mental toughness that's lacking. And then, of course, you could be the type who just simply attacks over and over, and you go after your goals, but because you haven't built new strength or new skills, you struggle endlessly. You haven't really gotten tougher. You're just struggling more. And these are the salty ones, the ones who are constantly frustrated. All right. So let me explain before I go into these 3 keys in order to become more mentally tough. Let's talk about what a mentality or a mindset really is. All right. So when I say mindset, I mean the conscious or unconscious beliefs, thoughts, ideas, assumptions that have led to your actions and your reactions. All right. All of us have beliefs or things that we think. Sometimes they're unconscious, but the unconscious ones are the ones that lead to what we do. Let's think of an example, right? If an athlete believes that pain is bad on an unconscious level, they believe that pain is bad and that pain means you need to stop. What do you think this athlete's going to do when they experience a losing streak or a bad injury or experiences some resistance within their team? We're seeing this in the NBA a lot. We're seeing athletes literally struggling and then leaving. They might become depressed, not attack their rehab, right? So mentality are those beliefs and ideas that fuel your actions, all right? Things that you believe. What does it mean to be tougher? When I say tough, what I mean is the ability and the willingness to withstand or endure pain, all right? If someone's not tough, then that means anytime there's some pain, they can't withstand it, so they leave, or they do anything they can do to lessen the pain. These are people who are not tough. So if we want a tougher mindset, this means a set of beliefs and ideas that are bulletproof and can withstand the pressures of life. and lead us to take the actions that need to be taken. There's certain things that we need to do. We might even know the things that we need to do, but we lack the toughness in order to be able to do them. All right. We, of course, do not want to be victims of life. So the question then becomes, how do we build this tougher mindset? I'm going to go through 3 keys, and I want you to listen closely to each one. All right. First thing is clear. You got to have clear standards of results and actions. Now, I didn't say have goals. I think it's important to have goals. And of course, we have different milestones and things that we want to reach or evidence that shows us that we're on the right track. Goals are important, but I'm talking about having a standard. A standard is a way of life, not just a goal. All right. A way that you see yourself performing and becoming. It's a set of expectations. And a lot of people might say, you know, some Stoics might say, aren't expectations at the root of all pain? Sure, I guess. But is the goal for you to go through life experiencing no pain? If that's your goal, then, you know, we probably wouldn't vibe. But you, I imagine, are the types who wants to win, who want to become champions. And so if your goal is to win, to win requires pain. If you want to grow, it requires pain. If you want to go in a gym and get strong, it requires pain. Your muscles literally have to tear. So if your goal is to feel comfortable all day, then you should just sit on the couch, go meditate on the beach, and drink daiquiris and shit like that. But that's not the goal, right? So standards already give you an edge over your opponent, because while your opponents chase a random goal and they get, frustrated and too high, too low whenever the short-term goal is met, you are consistently comparing yourself to the way of life that you aspire to. You're comparing yourself to something higher. Does that make sense? So Kobe Bryant, rest in peace, he says you always start with where you want your game to be, like a standard. How do you do things? Like, what would make your game the most unstoppable? Then you work backwards from there. So this makes you tougher because you won't easily quit after a lapse of results or actions. This gives you perspective. Does that make sense? So the pain is only going to make you angry and frustrated in a more productive way that's going to lead to action when you fail to meet that standard. It gives you something that you're reaching towards. You're not just going to quit so easy. So number 1, have those clear standards of results and actions. Number 2, and it's crazy how often, I talk with athletes and they just simply do not do this. And it's literally the equivalent of burning money or leaving money on the table. And it's this. If you want to become more mentally tough, you have to evaluate all training and performances systematically. That means in a consistent, predictable way. You should have a system around how you evaluate yourself after performance and training. And these performances and trainings, these evaluations should always lead to specific things that you need to do in order to improve. So when you talk about as a pro, when I was with the New Orleans Saints, and even before that in college, we spent about 2, maybe 3 hours tops doing physical things in terms of practice. What are those 6 to 7 hours plus spent doing? Evaluation, mining for improvements in knowledge, watching film, identifying what needs to be done in order to improve, and identifying specific things needed to improve. All right. So that means for you, after practice, evaluate. After training, evaluate. After games, evaluate. So a focus on improvement gives you a renewed hunger, right? So if you lost, you go back and evaluate and you focus on very specific things you need to do to improve. This gives you a hunger. It doesn't mean you're going to be feeling great because you still lost, but at least now you have a micro goal that you're now attacking and you're going to be more focused. You're not going to give up as easily. All right. So you should be constantly trying to tweak and improve your game, because there is no mythical finish line or actual finish line. Your standards always being chased, always being refined, always being upgraded. All right. Now, the last thing is this. If you want to become more mentally tough, you got to surround yourself with a team of goons, or a team of tough people, as I like to call it. Right. I just use the word goon. You got to surround yourself with tough people if you want to become tough. It's not enough that you have that desire and you do certain things and then you go hang around with a bunch of bums. Your environment is crucial. So you ever worked out, or better yet, ran with someone who's way more in shape than you? When I was training to become a firefighter and I got the job, and one of my close friends in the fire department, his name's Jeff, he's a long distance runner. And I had never been a long distance runner, but during training to become a firefighter, during that firefighter training, if you will, we did a ton of running, right, for our PT. And so I was running more miles than I ever run. I got into running. And so one time I went on a run with him outside of the PT and came to his hood. You know, he lives in a lot of hilly areas. And when I'm telling you, man, I was struggling like mess to keep up with this dude, because this is a dude who runs like countless miles every single week. So for him, he's looking at me like, keep up. And I'm looking at him like, oh shit, this is a new standard to reach to. Because there were several times where I would have stopped and walked, but I didn't because he was farther along than me, right? So you try harder when you're working out with someone who's stronger than you. Surround yourself with tough people. Super duper crucial. All right. So listen, your mentality is the most important, powerful tool that you have, regardless of your sport. I don't care if it's golf. I don't care if it's football. I don't care if it's wrestling or if it's skiing. Regardless of what sport you play, your mentality is the most important tool that you have. And most people focus entirely too much on the tangibles. You must be the opposite. You have to start prioritizing your mentality and working at it very systematically. So listen, we talked about the 3 things that you need in order to become mentally tough. Having those clear standards of results and actions, making sure you evaluate your training and performances systematically, and of course, surrounding yourself with tough people. So I want you to ask yourself these questions. Number 1, are your standards clear? Do you know what you want to become? Is it written out? Can you review it? Are these standards a part of you? Do you review them? How do you review them? When do you review them? Do you refine them? When do you evaluate yourself? How do you evaluate yourself? Do you do it systematically, or do you just talk about it with your girl after your game in the car? What do you do in order to evaluate yourself and get better? Are you obsessing about the results that you get, or are you actually focusing on how to improve each and every day, each and every practice, each and every game, each and every training session? Who do you spend time with? Who coaches you? How do you train your mentality? All right. So listen, apply these things that I just talked about today in this episode. And what I want you to do is, if you're in need of a more systematic approach to dominating your sport, you actually desire to be somebody who dominates at the highest level, and you understand the need for a dominant mindset, go to imnotyou.com/KI, or just click the link in the description of this video so that you can learn more about how to work with me and how to build that dominant mindset and take your game to the next level. All right. So I'll see you guys soon. Peace out.